Just how good is Mick Abel actually? That's the question people are asking after another strong start for the Phillies rookie. We'll break it down on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio for over 5 years now. Yeah, that's right. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube. We're available on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts. And if you subscribe, you'll get notifications when new episodes are posted. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Go ahead and check out our friends over at FanDuel. The Phillies lost 2-1. They were walked off on last night in Toronto against the Blue Jays, and it was kind of a boring game, if I'm being honest with you. Nick Castellanos homered. Brandon Marsh made an error that actually turned into a Bo Bichette triple based on scoring. And those were the only 2 runs in the regular time frame of the game, I guess. Well, the Jays walked off in the bottom of the 9th with Alejandro Kirk hitting a ball off the wall. There's just really not that much to recap when it comes to the game. Unfortunately, the Phillies lost. It was one of those games, though, where it's just like, it is what it is. You would have liked to have more offensively. When you played okay defense, I guess. The pitching was really good. And Romano gives up the walk-off in his former home park. So it's just a weird game. I'm not too overly concerned about it. You can win today and win the series, a 3-0-7 game. We're going to talk about today's game in the final segment. We're also going to talk about the Phillies starting pitching situation, which I know we've touched a couple times, but it continues to get more intriguing. We're going to talk about that in our second segment. But, I mean, I've covered pretty much here, in case you want a recap reaction to that game, which not that much happened. Here's what it is. Mick Abel was good. Brandon Marsh needs to catch that ball. Phillies should probably cash in on more opportunities. Nick Castellanos' bomb was nice to see. I hope JT Realmuto is okay. He took a foul tip right to a spot in the 9th inning that you don't want to, and it got him good. Not ideal. He had to leave the game. He said after the game he's had worse, which I find hard to believe, but JT's a nutcase. Might be down a couple of those right now. Anyway, JT, hopefully he's okay, and that's the takeaways from the game. But I want to talk about something with Mick Abel, because Mick Abel made his second major league start yesterday, and he looked like so damn comfortable. It's unbelievable what this guy's demeanor is like out on the mound. You can't tell he's a rookie. He seems like Ranger. He seems like Sanchi. He seems like these guys that go out there that have done it a million times that just don't even change expression regardless of what's happening in the game. He only went 5 1/3, went 6 last time out. Only struck out 2. Struck out 9 last time. But he also only allowed 3 hits, allowed 1 run. That the earned quality of it is debatable. He did not walk anybody. He did not give up a bomb. He threw 78 pitches, 52 of them for strikes. I mean, how good is Mick Abel really? That's the question. And part of this is because I got the opportunity to talk to Jason Stark yesterday. And you could check that out, the interview. It's on 97.5thefanatic.com. It's with the afternoon show, which I'm currently hosting, along with Ricky Bottalico, former Phillies reliever. So some great baseball talk on that show if you ever want to tune in. But we interview Jason Stark every Wednesday. And he wanted to talk a little bit about Mick Abel because, as he told us and said on air, he talked to Dave Dombrowski yesterday about Mick Abel. Just talked to him in general about what's going on with the team. But Dave Dombrowski apparently told Jason Stark that they see Mick Abel as a top-of-the-rotation pitcher. He is a top-of-the-rotation pitcher at the major league level. And the reason he went back down was because they just have too many guys, and they have proven veterans and everything like that. But that's kind of wild. Now, here's where it gets tricky, right? I think Mick Abel is a very, very good pitcher. I don't know what his ceiling is at the major league level. If he continues to do this, I guess it's really high. He's kind of one of these guys that gets lost in the shuffle. But let's look at Dave Dombrowski's comments first, because for anyone who's saying, well, the president of baseball operations said it, they believe that, that's what he's going to be. Slow down. Dave Dombrowski is in a no-win situation with what he says about his pitching staff right now, because essentially he's playing a game of poker. Let's do this exercise, right? I want you to pretend like you're playing poker against me. And we get dealt our cards. I look down, I'm peeking at my cards, and I say, oh, wow, I've got a good hand. Well, what's your immediate thought? He would never tell me he's got a good hand if he actually has a good hand. He's bluffing. Or it could be, oh, he does have a good hand. He just told me he has a good hand. I'm inclined to believe him. Either way, you don't know. He's playing a game like what we are in this scenario. So whatever I tell you, you're not going to believe, because either you think I'm bluffing, or I could be just flat out telling the truth. It's this whole game of shadows and mirrors of trying to change value of players. And you might say, why would he be doing this? Well, because Mick Abel is a major, major trade chip. So basically, Dave Dombrowski is saying to the rest of baseball when he says that, because if he tells it to Jason Stark, if he says it, he knows when he talks to reporters, that's going to get out somewhere. He knows that Jason's going to come on our radio station and say that. Then we're going to run with it. Now I'm going to do my podcast on it the next day. And all of a sudden, there's this media storm of, hey, Mick Abel, they think he's the top of the rotation guy. Dave Dombrowski said so. And then teams line up because they want a top of the rotation guy. They trade for Mick Abel, who the Phillies actually thought was a middle of the pack to back end of the rotation arm. And like, that's where Dave Dombrowski can't win, and we can't truthfully evaluate his statements because we don't know what the motive behind it is. So we can only go off the eye test. So anyone who's saying, well, Dombrowski said it, he's got to be telling the truth. Let me play you in a game of poker. Please, I got a bridge to sell you. All of those expressions. But I don't know. Like, again, I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm just saying he could be. And we'll have no way of knowing, so we got to go with the eye test. And my eye test right now says plus fastball, average to above average breaking ball. It's a good breaking ball. He's just got to figure out the usage of it a little bit better. I'd like to see more of it. But really good breaking ball. When everything is all said and done, I believe. Right now, it's just kind of average to above league average. And remember, we're talking major league level. But he's got strikeout ability, even though the Blue Jays don't strike out a bunch. He has it. He commands the ball incredibly well. Like, his command has been great. And that was a problem for him 2 years ago in the minors when he took a bit of a step back. So it's nice to see that. And the demeanor is, I'm ready. I can be put in any situation, and I'm just chilling. Like, he's walking off the mound with this stone cold expression of just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just another day at the office. Right? This is not anything special to me. I'm pitching. I walk off. My face is dead still. I go out and I do it again. He's like a robot almost, it seems like. And the Phillies have a couple of those guys in their rotation. So how good is Mick Abel really? Is he a top of the rotation guy? According to what I've seen so far, too early to tell. I know that might be like a cop-out answer, too early to tell. But what gets tricky about this is he's kind of the forgotten arm. Wheeler's the ace. Nola's the old vet. Sanchez is this dark horse that came out of nowhere that all of a sudden this quick developing guy. Ranger is the guy on his last legs heading into a contract, in a contract year that just can't stay healthy. Andrew Painter is the top prospect. Jesus Luzardo is the divisional mystery box that has turned out to be a gem. Taiwan Walker is the probably better for the bullpen back end of the rotation emergency guy. And then, like, where does Mick Abel filter into all of this? Well, it's almost like you want Painter to be the better prospect because you've been so dead set on Painter being the guy. Oh, this guy's amazing. He's ranked higher. He's all this, that, and the other thing. He's supposed to be the golden child. And then this other kid comes up as dominant, and you're like, well, is this guy better than Painter? Is Painter better than him? Is there this competition is that good for the Phillies? Short answer, yes. But it just kind of messes with the way you evaluate things. Right now, based on what we've seen at the major league level, Mick Abel is a very, very good major league pitcher. We've only seen, 11 and a third innings. So we don't really know yet. But what he's done to start has been incredibly impressive. He hasn't faced the juggernauts of baseball, but the Blue Jays better than the Pirates, and he once again went out there and was pretty darn dominant. He has the stuff, he has the makeup, he has everything. And I don't know how the Phillies can see what they've seen from him and send him back down, right? Like, I'd continue to let him make starts, and I'd continue to keep him in a spot in the rotation, especially with Aaron Nola suffering a bit of a setback yesterday. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But how good Mick Abel is right now, I think he is a middle to back end of the rotation major league starter in this moment right now. And what his ceiling is, well, obviously higher than that. So take your pick of how good you think he can be. But that's my evaluation of where we're at with him and why he's such kind of a tricky prospect to figure out exactly what's going on because of the preconceived notions about who's who in the Phillies farm system and also a weird situation with the starting pitching, which we're going to get into next because there's a lot of bodies and not enough room at the end. We'll talk about that as we continue today's episode. Let's talk about FanDuel, though, because the NBA playoffs are in full swing. NBA Finals start tonight, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Indiana, Oklahoma City, monster matchup in the finals that starts tonight, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game. 28 other NBA teams are out. Well, guess what? You're still in because you got FanDuel. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Oklahoma City's got home court advantage. So look at Shea to have a big night tonight to show up. Also look at the under. They play great defense, not the Thunder, the under. You could probably also bet the Thunder because I think they're going to handle the Pacers easily in this series. But you got a lot of options, and you could check in on a bunch of stuff. And, wait. Hang on. How could a $200 in bonus bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? What's this all about? I got to read my copy. Well, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. No, I'm just kidding. They do this, and they do this a lot because they're great. They're great for it. But you head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Go ahead and check them out with FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. All right, let's talk a little bit about the rotation. We've talked about this ad nauseum, it feels like, when it comes to what's going on with the Philadelphia Phillies. But let's lay out the players. I feel like I'm my history teacher explaining World War I. And you got to list out all the countries and whose sides they were on. So you have Zach Wheeler. Great. He's not going anywhere unless he has another kid. But Zach Wheeler, not currently with the team, with his wife for the birth of their child. He is your best pitcher. Then you have Jesus Luzardo, who, yes, had a rough start over the weekend. He starts today in the 307 matchup with the Blue Jays. We'll see if he can bounce back. I think he will, especially against a Blue Jays team that has not created a lot of offense. They've only scored 5 runs in the first 2 games of the series. We'll see, but Luzardo is undeniably in the playoff rotation at this moment right now. Like, he's a guy that you got to have. He's been that good. Cy Young candidate before his numbers got all jacked up. Then you probably have Christopher Sanchez, who's been the more reliably available between him and Ranger Suarez. But, he won you a game on Tuesday in game 1 in the series in Toronto. He's got great strikeout stuff, fastball changeup combo, 30, lefty, throws hard. Great. Sanchez, good deal. He's in there too. Then you got Ranger Suarez, who's in the final year of his contract, but has been really good since coming back from his injury that started the year on the injured list for him. He's been, when healthy, dominant. Problem is he's not healthy all that often, and you don't know how long he's going to last for. So you throw him while you have the chance, but do you have him in the long-term plans in the rotation? He also has bullpen versatility. So you look at him as maybe a guy that could go to the pen if needed. Then things get tricky. You have Aaron Nola, who's been rehabbing, whatever you want to call it at this point, a right ankle strain or sprain. And then we talked to Jason Stark yesterday, and he just randomly throws in, oh, yeah, Aaron Nola's sick, so he's been set back a little bit for his recovery process or his rehab process, which, okay, you get sick, you can't go work out, and you can't work on stuff. I get that. But then Matt Gelb of The Athletic tweets out that he's got a strain on his right side. His right body soreness. And he's suffering a setback from that. I don't know what in the world's going on with Aaron Nola. Don't know where in the world he is, what in the world's happening. Who knows when Aaron Nola will be back. It's taken a long time for him to rehab and take care of all this stuff and bounce back. He's not remotely come close. I think May 17th was the date for the injured list when he first went on it, and it is now June 5th. So that means it was 7, 14, basically 20 days by the end of the day today is where you're sitting with Aaron Nola's absence from the rotation or his injured list retroactive date. So right now, Aaron Nola can't be in the plans. He can't be. There's just no way you can look at Aaron Nola and say, I want that guy in my playoff rotation. Now, there's a long way to go in the season. We're just in early June. So you can get Aaron Nola back to where you need him to be, but you can't count on that at this point. After Aaron Nola, you also have Taiwan Walker back there. And Taiwan Walker is bounced around in every role possible. He's been setup man. He's been a closer. He's been in the bullpen. He's been in the starting rotation. He's pretty much handled all of it. He deserves more credit. That being said, more credit does not lead to more opportunity necessarily, or the same type of opportunity. He is not in your starting rotation. He should not be in your starting rotation. He is not good enough to be in your starting rotation. He has been solid this year, but he's better out of the bullpen for what this team needs right now. So you have Wheeler in the rotation, Sanchez and Luzardo in the rotation, Suarez in the rotation, Nola taken off for parts unknown, Walker in the bullpen. Well, there's another spot in the rotation that you have to kind of figure out, and that's where Mick Abel has come in. Now, we just did a whole conversation about how good is Mick Abel really, and Dave Dombrowski told Jason Stark yesterday, and Stark relayed it to us, he thinks he's the top of the rotation guy, a really talented pitcher. Okay, so show it. Keep him in the rotation. If that is indeed the truth, he better stay in that rotation. But therein lies the problem, because then that makes 5. And not only does that make 5, it makes 6 when Aaron Nola's back. If you really believe Mick Abel's as good as you say you do, you got to find a way to keep him. But he's not knocking out Wheeler, Luzardo, Sanchez, or Suarez. Those guys are all too good to leave the rotation. So let's say Aaron Nola gets healthy. What do you do there? There is no easy answer. And that's not even the hard one, because there's still this Andrew Painter guy who's one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball, who you look at and say he's going to come up in July. And what in the world do we do with him? Because we're already dealing with the Nola thing, and we're already dealing with the Abel thing, and we're already dealing now with this Painter thing. Like, I don't know how in the world the Phillies can make this work. It's a good problem, right? It's a puzzle, but it's not this crazy high stakes puzzle, or it's not this dangerous puzzle, right? I likened it yesterday on TV and radio. I said it's not like Indiana Jones' Temple of Doom, where if you get something wrong, arrows in your back. It's more like my mom doing a jigsaw puzzle on a lazy Sunday. Right? If you get a piece wrong, you get a piece wrong, and then you just rework it. And the reason why it's a little bit more comfortable than a giant boulder rolling down a tight hallway after you is because these are all good problems to have. Whatever they choose, they're going to have an elite level rotation. But what's more tricky is how do you use the guys that do not make the rotation, and can you use them to benefit you at the major league level without putting them in bad spots or changing their roles too much? Because you can't just go like Nola to the bullpen. It's not MLB The Show where you could just change these guys to relief pitchers and they still got the same pitches and you hit the same buttons. Like, that's not how this works. If you're going to move somebody to the bullpen, they better have bullpen experience, or you better trust that they're able to do that. Now, Mick Abel is thrown out of the bullpen in the minors. Maybe he could be that guy for the Phillies. Ranger Suarez has thrown out of the bullpen in the majors. Maybe he could be that guy for the Phillies. Christopher Sanchez. People forget about this all the time, but Sanchez had his fair share of time as a reliever when he first came up before he became a starter. So he's thrown out of the bullpen at the major league level before. I don't think he'd be thrilled about going back there. Neither will Ranger or Mick Abel. But when you look at what you need more relievers than you need starters. You only really need 4 guys at the major league level as starting pitchers when you get to the postseason. And the Phillies have, by my count, 43. Like, it feels like they have every starting pitcher that they could ever want, which is a good thing. But you have to figure out what to do for those guys come September, come October, because you don't want just like Nola, Abel, and Painter sitting in the minors or sitting on the sidelines, not having a role on this team. Some very talented pitchers there and some guys that you could really use to help you win a World Series. If the Phillies win the World Series this year, it's going to be on the backs of their pitching. We've known that for a while, but it becomes more apparent every day with the depth they have at that starting spot. And we'll see what they have in store for these guys and how they move. But they've got a surplus. You also have to think about, and something we haven't brought up yet, because it's still relatively early. The trade deadline isn't until July 31st, but you could obviously trade players. You could trade Abel. You could trade Suarez. You're not going to trade Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, or Luzardo. None of those guys are moving. But I guess you could technically trade Painter. That would be such a tease if they just spent years and years and years of saying, oh, Painter this, Painter that, Painter this, Painter that. And right when he's about to come up, you dish him. But Abel is definitely a trade piece. I mean, maybe Taiwan Walker. I don't see that with the amount of money that they'd have to cut down. But I think the one true trade piece on this team is Mick Abel. And then you look into the minors at guys like Aiden Miller and Justin Crawford and see how aggressive you want to get with the trade deadline this year in what is a golden opportunity year for the Philadelphia Phillies. But a surplus of starters. One of those guys is going to have to move. Well, 3 of those guys really are going to have to move when you look at everybody. But I'm just talking about the 5 in the starting rotation right now. And it's a tricky spot, but a good problem to have for the Philadelphia Phillies, and one that we're going to keep our eye on throughout the season here on Locked On Phillies. Coming up next, we're going to get into a preview of Phil's Jays Game 3. A bounce-back game is needed for one Jesus Luzardo. He made a change. Maybe it's the change that he needed. We'll see. Or maybe I'm just being dumb. But, hey, it worked for Bryce Harper. There's your hint on what he changed. We'll talk about it coming up next on Locked On Phillies. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Game 3 of the series with the Toronto Blue Jays. And you have an opportunity to win the series. That's all you look to do. I know they dropped Game 2. I wasn't looking for a sweep, especially coming off getting swept. Just go out there and win today. And the Philadelphia Phillies, well, they're not favored in this one. And that's because they're facing Chris Bassett, who's been pretty darn good for the Blue Jays so far this year. He's got a 3.80 ERA. He struck out 69 and 66 in the third innings pitched. He has given up 9 home runs, but as you've seen the past couple of days, the ball kind of flies at Rogers Center if you get it up into the air. Strikingly similar numbers between him and Jesus Luzardo, who has a 3.58 ERA and a 1.34 whip to Bassett's 3.8, 1.36. Both have 5 wins. Like, everything looks normal, right? Well, the difference is this, and this is what people are not accounting for, and this is why the Phillies are winning this game. Luzardo got shelled last time out to the tune of 11 runs allowed. And in the meantime, while he was getting shelled, Rob Thompson got tossed. Mike Calitri wasn't doing a good enough job, I don't think, of keeping track of what was going on the field because they're trying to figure out what's going on. There was just a lot of moving parts as to why Jesus Luzardo was left out there. He was left out there to wear it, which sucks because of his stats being where they were ahead of that game. You want to protect that because he had a chance for his numbers to be insanely good this year. And he may still put up insane numbers, but if he comes up short, it will be because of that game, and it will be because the Phillies did not get him out of there quick enough. Now, I don't think he harbors resentment or anything like that, like heavily. I think he was probably annoyed at the time, but who wouldn't be? But he's in for a bounce-back performance. And while the numbers between him and Bassett look similar right now, that's only inflated by a terrible, terrible performance from one time out, which just happened to be the last time. Luzardo's the much better pitcher. And I think he's going to be ticked off, and I think he's going to go out there and dominate tonight. I do. I think he's going to be very, very good against the Toronto Blue Jays. Bassett, another righty. So the Phils are kind of getting in the zone of facing righties. They faced 2 already in this series in Barrios and Francis. And now you get another one here, and you say, okay, we kind of aim these guys up. We can go with the same lineup, we think, as long as JT's okay, which God only knows. I don't even know how to handle recovery time for that type of injury. He was hit in the cup area, in case you forgot about us talking about it earlier. So, yeah, really, really thinking of JT, and also really, really now clenching my legs together for the rest of the episode thinking about that. That's no fun. But basically what tonight is the Luzardo bounce back game. This is where we see like who he really is as a pitcher. This is where he proves himself to the Philadelphia Phillies fan base. And I know he's already been really good. We already think he's really good. But there are certain things that happen with winning organizations that don't happen with losing ones. And Luzardo's career so far, pitched with the Athletics, pitched with the Marlins. Those are both losing organizations, all due respect to them. The Phillies right now are a winning organization. They're contending for a World Series. And when you have those bad blow-up games with the Marlins or the A's, it's kind of just like, okay, well, darn, that happened. That sucks. And then you go out next time, and it's just like, well, bad team, bad start last time. That stuff starts to weigh on you a little bit more, I think. It becomes harder to dig out of that hole. Like you almost feel like, okay, well, that's par for the course because we're getting smoked every other game on these teams. And it's not that big of a deal, and I'll just go out there and try and figure it out. Like that is what I think the mentality is when you have a bad start on a bad team. When you have a bad start, like Luzardo did on a good team, it's I let this team down. They're out there doing their jobs. They're out there winning. They're out there trying to win, creating opportunities, and I screwed us. And I want to go out there and shove next time out because I have a golden opportunity to be a great player on this winning team. And I'm ticked off that I threw the way that I did. I'm not saying that Luzardo has not cared about his numbers or his performance with previous teams. I'm saying that it feels like everything is magnified a little bit when you play on a team with World Series expectations. And maybe he's up for it and maybe he's not. We haven't seen Luzardo make a bounce-back start yet this year because he hasn't had to. Everything's been damn good. But now he has a major, major opportunity for a bounce-back start. And we'll see if he can handle that. Like Zach Wheeler in the doubleheader against the Braves last week got shelled. We did not see him make his bounce-back start because he's with his wife for the birth of his child. So we'll see, but we know what Zach Wheeler is. We've seen him have bounce-back starts before. Luzardo, it's still like he's like, hey, to use the Zach Wheeler example, he's like a newborn baby for this Phillies fan base. Everything's a first. Everything's the first time we've seen him do it. So we're learning stuff. We're seeing new things. And we'll see tonight how Luzardo's confidence is and if it's affected at all by him getting shelled last time or if he just goes out there and he's the pitcher that he has been for the large majority of the season. As far as offense is concerned, I'm not concerned with the Philadelphia Phillies offense. I think they'll get things going. I think they just had a weird game last night where they couldn't really pick up Barrios. And we'll see if they can do so tonight against Chris Bassett. They've seen Chris Bassett a good amount. They should be familiar with him. He's a guy that was in division, I believe. Wasn't he with the Mets for a little bit, I feel like? Let me just double check on that and see if he was he was with the Mets for a year. He was with Oakland for a while before that. So I knew I remembered it. So the Phillies are familiar with Chris Bassett, and that was back in 2022, the year they went to the World Series. So they must have had success in general against him because they were a good baseball team. We'll see if that familiarity helps the Phillies offense get going. Bryce Harper's already gone yard since returning. Trey Turner went yard twice in the first game of this series, but Kyle Schwarber has been quiet for the start of June. Maybe today's the day that Schwarbs gets going. Castellanos goes yard last night. Maybe he's hot. I don't know, but I want to see Kyle Schwarber put a ball into the seats at the Rogers Center, especially with Pittsburgh coming up over the weekend, knowing that you're going to get some easy pitching where you can build momentum. Well, I love the idea of Kyle Schwarber heading into this next series feeling like he's swinging it hot and really making that June whole stigma about how he's the greatest June baseball player of all time, make that come true for another year. That would be ideal. I think the Phillies win this game. I thought the Phillies lost last night, and they did. So I've been so far so good in this series, even though I'm predicting losses, which I don't like to do. It's just I call them as I see them. And tonight, the Phillies, this afternoon, 3:07 p.m. first pitch, the Phillies are going to win this ball game they're going to win this series. They're going to roll into Pittsburgh having won 2 of their last 3 and having won a bunch of their last bunch series. It's okay, folks. They're totally fine. Last night, just a weird, low-scoring game. You flush it, you move on, just like Luzardo is hopefully going to do when he takes the mound after his blow-up start the last time out. He bounces back. I got good feelings about this game today. I just do. I'm not too worried about it. Hopefully, I'm not wrong. And hopefully tomorrow we're not saying, oh, well, Connor was wrong on this one. But we'll see at 3 o'clock, and we'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode. That's all for today's episode. So thank you so much for joining us. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. We'll react to the series, and we'll preview the weekend series with the Pittsburgh Pirates on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Phillies.